This video is to prove that there were bombs used inside buildings 1 and 2 for the collapse during 9/11. It's to show that excess energy had to be included in the system for the collapse to happen at that rate, that gravity could not do it on its own. I've titled this the floating plate experiment. It just deals with plates in succession, and I'll bring the camera up here towards the end to show you all the numbers and everything. That none of these plates are going to move until the plate above it contacts it. So this plate, of course, would fall from rest and hit the second plate, gain mass, free fall again, collide with the third plate, and continue all the way down. This plate here is larger or more massive than the plates below it. The numbers are here. This is 5 kilograms, and these are all 1. The numbers just represent that there's a larger mass starting the collapse, which is what a lot of the argument is during the collapse of 9/11 or the buildings, because there was such a great amount of mass above falling on the rest. I have ignored all internal resistance in this experiment. There are no walls that would slow it down, because that's more to destroy. There's no internal steel structural support system. So I'm neglecting air resistance as well. I'm trying to get rid of a bunch of facts that would help the official story, that it would help the official story be true. So I'm operating on just basic, simplified physics and showing that I'm still right, even though I'm ignoring a bunch of things that would make me, I guess, more right, if you want to put it like that. So it's not that difficult of a system to go over. Actually, it just deals with the conservation of momentum and the conservation of energy, and then a little bit of particle motion physics to calculate the velocities as it goes down, and therefore calculate the total time it would take to fall. Actually, a little side cut here that I forgot to mention. Those arguments against what problems this might cause is that some might say that it wouldn't gain mass, as I have illustrated, because as it's falling, it is actually destroying the floors above or below, and therefore it wouldn't be kind of grouping as this experiment would show. But for it to destroy the floor below it, it would create or have to use a lot of energy, which would slow the descent. So actually, by having the floors group, as the experiment will show, is another point helping the official story that I'm still disproving. Another issue is the airplane and the heat. Since I'm ignoring all internal strength or resistance, fire doesn't matter. The whole building could be on fire. I'm showing that there is nothing here. So the fact that the fire weakened the steel, I don't care, because I'm getting rid of the support. And the fact that the plane damaged anything internally also would not matter, because I have gotten rid of all the supports. So you can't use those points in the argument. They don't work. So it doesn't matter that a plane hit. This could technically be 30 planes, and the entire building could be on fire. Still showing that the mass and gravity could not do this work on its own. There I have each plate in steps. You had step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to 11. I only ran through 6 iterations. That's all I needed to show. It started to kind of flatline anyway, which is just fine. There are my numbers. First mass, top mass, 5 kilograms. All the remaining masses all the way down are just 1 kilogram. And the distance is equal between each one, is just 1 meter. They basically represent floor and floor spacing. So the equation goes as follows. First, you take the conservation of energy, mgh equals 1/2 mv squared, potential equals kinetic, of course. And since m's cancel out, because it just deals with this one mass here falling, so no mass gain there. M's cancel, so you have gravity at a height of 1 equals 1/2 velocity squared. You find that the velocity before it hits the first plate is that number shown. And then you do particle motion, y final equals y initial plus velocity initial in the while. Really that's a minus, but it's not really important, provided you keep the numbers straight anyway. So you have height of 1, 1/2 gt squared. There's no initial velocity in the y yet. It will show in other iterations. So you have the total time it took to fall that first meter. And so now you do it again. This time law of conservation of momentum, because the mass, when that top plate hits the second plate, it would gain mass and therefore slow down. So it went from, where am I at here? Yep. It went from 4.4272, which was this number here, at a mass of 5, it gained mass and it added a plate, so now it's 6, so it slows down, of course. And so now we do conservation of energy, which is now also, we have potential energy with kinetic energy, because now it's moving, creating new velocity. That would be the point from here. It would have kinetic energy and potential energy equaling a new kinetic energy down here. So that equation yields, obviously it's speeding up. And then particle motion, now we actually have initial velocity in the y, which is this one here, at the beginning of its descent, creating a time that it takes to fall the second gap. Now this is repeated conservation of momentum, repeated momentum, energy, time it takes to 4, 5th, and 6th. Now if you summate all 6 of those values, you would get a total time it would take for all the plates to fall colliding with one another and therefore ending up on the ground. I have drawn this experiment for 11 iterations. I only needed 6. And then this little equation, which is particle motion ignoring velocity in the y times t because it's at rest, is the height it takes to fall minus 1/2 g, which is 4.9 meters per second squared, that's 1/2 g, t squared. You get that the time it takes for the first plate to fall those 6 meters is 1.10657 seconds. And how long, if you summate all of these values with the colliding including, it takes 1.2623 seconds. It seems rather small, but that is actually a change of 14%. It takes 114% of the time colliding with those plates for it to hit the ground. Now it started to asymptote off here at 14%. If I were to do 7 iterations, it would probably be around 15% to 15.5. 7 or 8, it would start to cap around 16%, maybe 17 at the most, I would imagine. So there was the basic physics of the floating plate experiment. What I believe is proving that bombs had to be used to increase or add to the energy needed for those buildings to collapse. Gravity could not do it on its own. And this is the ideal situation, helping the official story be true, and it still shows to be false. And this is just the physics. Like I said, you could look at any of the other aspects in the entire day that happened. And for any of you that believe as I believe, you know the long list that you have that people still ignore. Well now, instead of all that possible speculation, I guess if you could even, I don't know how it's possible to even speculate on some of those points. Doesn't matter. You have the simplest, basic physics to show that bombs were used in the buildings. If you do not believe after this equation, I have no idea what to tell you because you are too far gone. There is nothing to say to you. No structural supports. Doesn't matter for fire. The building could be on fire. There could be 10 planes that hit this thing. Gravity could not destroy that building as fast as it did on its own unless bombs were used to blow out all the structural support and the flooring. So it didn't even have to gain mass as it fell. But remember that the acts of 9/11, when that building started to fall, that big mass, you can see it in the image that the building starts to disappear under a cloud of smoke before the whole building starts to collapse, which means that that mass was not of full mass, starting to destroy the floors below it. And obviously it's pretty safe to say that at least the first 60 floors were of full structural strength because there was no fire there and no plane. But yet they were still destroyed as if there was nothing there. Many facts I'm ignoring, and I'm giving you 5 kilograms, 5 times more than the floors below it, or the plates below it, I should say. And I'm still coming 14%, and I think that number maximizes to 17 or 18 if I did enough iterations, and still could not have happened the way they said.